hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship. This right here is round number 5 of this season, coming to you tonight from Interlagos. My name is Ron Maunz, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Joshua Wilkie. Well, Josh, we're back again. The juices are flowing once more off the back of AMS earlier on here tonight. And we, similar to what we had last time out at Lime Rock, we're going to have a bit of a trial by fire here tonight. We're running at Interlagos, which is already a bit of a tough track as it is, but as is so often the case with this track here in Brazil, between the lakes, as it translates to in Portuguese, we've got some rain in the midst. So, I think I can't speak about you, Josh, but I'm very happy that we were here in this warm and dry broadcast booth and not out there in the humid air as this track slowly but surely starts to dry out.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. It's going to be a little different from last week at Lime Rock, isn't it, here at Interlagos? Not only do we have, well, a lot more track to cover, basically, and a very difficult technical one as well, but as you can see there from our pictures, there is a little bit of mist coming off these tires and even a little bit of standing water in a few places around here. Interlagos is a hard track on a good day, let alone when it is actually raining like this, or sorry, not raining, but wet, as we are seeing. It is looking like it's kind of overcast, maybe clearing up a little bit. We'll see how the forecast goes for the race here. A bit of a dry line beginning to form there, and well, as we know, Ron, that's some of the most difficult conditions you can have in iRacing here, or in real life, is that drying line. And you never know when that tire is going to grab the dry or grab the wet, and you have to react to it coming down into T1 here with Damian Dietrich, our winner from last week. Maybe we'll just stay on board with him here for a moment and see exactly how he's going to take it into T1. You can see that dry line beginning to form. He's going to get as wide as he can without touching that paint, I would imagine. Not something you're going to want to do today. Usually you would take a lot of this curb. He's going to take not too much of it there. You're going to want to be real tiptoe over this section, one of the more difficult sections on any racetrack to get correct there. And you can see that standing water on the inside. These curbs will be deadly today, won't they, Ron? This big long rip now down into the next corner here. Again, this is another one. You can see him kind of searching around here, maybe for a bit of a line. He's looking maybe during the race here to find something. You'd usually take a bunch of curb there too. You can see he's avoiding it. And then again, you want to be nice and tender, I'd say, on the gas pedal there over those curbs that do look like they're drying. And then we're heading into this very technical section here of Interlagos. Long right-hander here. You just kind of sling the car through, try to let it breathe a little bit, and then back on the throttle for a moment, and then into the really technical section here. Usually going to take a lot of curb on the inside here, try to maximize this exit, and then stay nice and tight for this left-hander all the way. Usually probably touch a bit of curb in there on a dry line as well. Going to use that curb on the right-hand side as well. Usually you can see taking his time here around this section, making sure that power gets down evenly and smoothly, and staying away from those curbs. Another very difficult section and very important one to get right here. This left-hander, our final corner into the not so straight down into T1. Again, some standing water down there and staying off of the curbs as well. And this will probably be your best chance here at a draft. As you can see behind there, the Taco Bell car of Greg Meyer getting a bit of a draft, and lots of spray coming off these cars, Ron. So it's going to be a pretty interesting one here at Interlagos, and a lot different than last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be tough. I will say this track is kind of in that middle road between being just wet enough whereby the wet tires are going to be the only call of order, and also just dry enough whereby those wet tires not going to be feeling great. As you're doing that lap guide there, Josh, when we were riding on board, some of the tire squealing, I was hearing that. I've still got my audio settings turned up to production levels, not the commentary levels. So my last name at the moment is not Maunz. It's ouch my ears. They have been blown out. But I was hearing the tire screeching coming from these race cars. It is biblical, the noise being uttered from the tires on these race cars. So I think the wet tires are getting to the point where they may not be the tire of choice. Jason Chess was trying to make it work on the wets. Not sure if that will work out well for him. However, Pranay Ketaneni currently qualified in third. He's on the slicks trying to make something work. Sarah Vase, he just set in the third fastest time on slick tires as well. I think these may be the order of operation. There's no rain in the forecast for the rest of this qualifying session, and Ketaneni with some warm slicks gonna jump up to the pole.
Yeah, taking the chance on the slicks there, finding that dry line, keeping it nice and clean, and he's going to be able to pull out a few tenths on Stevie Ray, who is in second place here as well. Again, we like to see those Masters drivers from our other classes there, from our other Weekend Warriors series. Stevie Ray would be a Masters driver in there, and they always seem to shine in these scenarios, don't they, Ron? It's difficult out there. This is a difficult track, and the Masters drivers always seem to be able to put it together. But as I say that, Matthew Hunter, Jacob Guyton, both putting in purple sectors there, you can see at the bottom, meaning that is the fastest sector through that we've had so far in that sector. Matthew Hunter probably going to be moving up the board here shortly as he takes this long rip down to the front straight in that really awesome livery actually on that vehicle. Looks great. I really like that. Not exactly sure what throwback that is, but that is going to put him into P1. Pranay Ketaneni just behind him, Greg Meyer, Jacob Guyton. So we're getting those late laps popped in right at the end of qualifying, and that's pretty interesting stuff here that I like to see, is that the track is drying, and if you're the last guy out there, you might just have the fastest track in front of you. So that's something you want to think about in these wet races, or it could go the other way. You just want to make sure you really maximize these qualifying sessions because the track might only be good in a very fleeting moment.
And one interesting and noteworthy difference between the qualifying sessions here in the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship versus how it is in the F3s tomorrow night here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. These qualifying sessions, 15 laps, not an allocated amount of, 15 minutes, not an allocated amount of laps that you've got here in this session. And although you don't see drivers hit the lap limit in the F3 session, the way they set it up is that as soon as the time runs out, that is it. Nobody can complete a lap time once the checkered flag comes out. These F4s, a little bit different, so qualifying runs a bit longer as long as you cross the stripe with anything over a second left in qualifying. You can be good to set another time, as Brian Szynski jumping up to the top of the board there, eking out a good lap time over Matthew Hunter, qualified on the front row with him. And Brian's brother Dan asking in the YouTube chat whether or not this is forecast as weather or not. This is, I believe, just following the chance of rain that the iRacing officials have been running. It's July 18th here in Sim, and some rain on its way approaching this racetrack. We may have to worry about that in the race proper, but this is just iRacing's weather allocation, to be super clear.
Yeah, you never really know what the iRacing weather allocation do, Ron. Sometimes it'll say 6%, and you're like, well, that's pretty low. And then, almost every time it says 6, you get a little bit of rain, or vice versa. So you never know. Not to say that they're not doing a... Yeah, exactly. Yep, that pretty much just like real life. And again, not to say they're doing a bad job at iRacing here with the weather. It is by far the most sophisticated weather system in any sim, and it feels just amazing. Honestly, it's very, very similar to what it feels like here in Canada, driving around on a snowy road or something like that. And maybe we get a little bit of extra help out there. Sometimes I feel like I have it, although it's been a while since I've been on a rainy course there. After the first couple seasons of rain, they really did pull it back. So same thing with these drivers. I don't think, although we have had some rain here in the F4 series before, I'm not exactly sure there's a lot of rainmeisters out there necessarily, as again, you look down at the bottom of your screen there, seeing Brian Szynski still popping in some really good sectors, able to purple another sector there. Matthew Hunter also purpling the first sector, so that can have a lot to do with the track drying out, right, Ron, like we were saying, and maybe it is getting a little bit drier. You're finding that line would be the other reason it's getting faster, is that you're actually out there hunting for those lines. The last lap you went, oh, I saw that dry spot, I'm going to hit it next time. And you're able to get another little tenth out, and that's exactly what's happening there, dropping from about a 140.9 we had earlier now to a 139.5. So lots and lots out there still to have. Brian Szynski finding some of it right there. It's exactly what you want to do in qualifying, right, Ron? If you're going to have a spin, well, there's another one. You want to do it now. This is where you want to find it. This is where you want to find those limits and learn from them for the race.
Yeah, I believe it was Ryan Shea that was going for a spin, as Henry Ryback going to join in the spinning committee as well. You brought up a good point about familiarity with this racetrack in qualifying, trying to figure out what is the best line to run. Also helps that these drivers are building up tire temperature. For most of us tuning into this broadcast, probably tuning in from the Northern Hemisphere, it's the dog days of summer right now. Down there in Brazil, it is the middle of winter, and the track temperature is currently as low as they can get in Sim. It is 68 degrees Fahrenheit for that track temperature. I did see it get as low as 67 degrees Fahrenheit, so not exactly, freezing cold, but that is about as low as it can get on iRacing. So we're going to have to worry about that throughout this race. Not only the actual grip out there on the racetrack, it is going to be finding grip in the tires, because the track temperature is currently, I think the correct technical term would probably be calling this track clammy at the moment. It's a lukewarm handshake that these drivers are having to settle a business deal with. That phrase just grossed me out to 7 separate degrees.
Yeah, you know what? It is going to be a little gloomy out there, though, and the conditions, they're going to change, right? So it's going to be an interesting one out there. I'm not exactly sure how this session is going to start, but you can almost guarantee that it won't be exactly the same as it was when it started at the end. So you're going to have to buy a ticket to the end of these races, and it's going to be a bit of a prospect out there. We will see. Maybe we won't get some weather, but if we do get some weather, it's guaranteed not to be the same by the end, and it's something you have to learn to kind of to get out there and adapt to it, really. And that's one of the things I kind of failed to do the first couple times when I experienced the iRacing rain, was was not really expecting just how much it really was going to change in front of me lap to lap. And if you dive into that corner thinking it's going to be the same as last lap, it isn't, and you'll find out really fast that it's not, and you can get caught out, as well as those, touch the paint a little bit offline. You're going to have some problems there. So just waiting now for the wee hours of this session here to tick down in qualifying, and we'll get you that grid and we'll get this one started up. But I think it's going to be an interesting one for the F4 series here at Interlagos in the rain, possibly.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a thriller, and it'll be interesting to see how things work out. Damian Dietrich trying to get his 4th victory in a row so far this season, but it's going to be Jacob Guyton grabbing his first pole position so far here in this campaign as well. We'll save the other points for a little bit later on here in this broadcast. Don't want them to get a little bit too sticky as we get into the end of this qualifying session. Waiting for iRacing to click over into the next session in about 5 seconds time, and we will be ready to rock and roll with a little bit of rain potentially forecasted, certainly to hit this racetrack after this qualifying session wraps, and maybe for this race as well. Moment of truth, let's see how it is going to be. And survey says that it is damp. So here we go, folks. About to get things up and rocking and rolling for round number 5 of this season. And we'll get things up for you by taking a look at your starting grid. It's going to be Jacob Guyton starting from the pole position the first time this season. Brian Szynski, the usual Formula V standout, will join him on the front row. Matthew Hunter will start in 3rd. Next to him will be Jason Chess. Stevie Ray will start this race in P5. Next to him will be Greg Meyer. Ryan Chio will be in 7th. Next to Damian Dietrich, looking for his 4th win in a row in that 4x4 car. He'll be starting down in 8th. Pranay Ketaneni, who showed some speed in qualifying, he's going to be starting in 9th. Next to Jose Navas Molina there in 10th. Henry Ryback will be starting this race in 11th place. Next to him will be Sarah Vase there in 12th. Final few rows here. Row number 7, we'll see Bob Eggert and Andres Ruiz. Tyler Hagan, series admin here in the SRG World, will start in 15th. Next to Cy Nathan. Ken Glasser will be in 17th. Walker Fulton, P18. Rudy Samudio in 19th, with Kenny Stepp starting this race in 20th. Rounding out your pack here at the start. Speaking of the start, Josh, we're about to get it soon, waiting for some drivers to line up. I do want to raise this. We've got some mixed opinions here at the start of this race. Some drivers opting for wets, others opting for slicks. This could be a very interesting and very wreck-filled run into turn number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see a couple mixed tires there, didn't I? I was kind of searching around with the camera a little bit there to see if we could see that tread, and it did look mostly like we have treaded tires out there for the rain, but I think I saw a few slicks as well. So we shall see if that pays off or not, and especially into T1, like you said, Ron. That is quite the prospect there, going into T1 with some slick tires on a wet track here, cold and wet, as we're about to get a race start here. Engines should be coming up to speed soon, and it is a standing start in the rain. We'll see how it goes.
And this uphill start is always stretchy. We are green flag racing, though. Treacherous, sketchy, merge it into one. Green flag flies, drivers are on their way, and we're racing here to turn number 1 at Interlagos. Already seeing them go 3 wide. Look at Brian Szynski punch out, hole shot downtown to turn number 1, and he's going to take your race lead. Matthew Hunter slots his way up in a 2nd. Jacob Guyton sinking down a little bit. A black flag at the moment here in this race. Early doors, Jason Chess, start violation. That's going to sink him down. We're 3 wide, heading our way out of the Senna S onto the back straightaway. This is going to be where things get a little bit dicey. Drivers already eyeballing some moves. The drivers who started on slick slipping down big time. Incident through the turn. Drivers clattering into one another. Tyler Hagan sinking his way down the running order right now. I was going to say Stevie Ray down 9 spots at the moment. He was one of the drivers that opted for slicks, and he's in trouble out there on the road. So too is Ken Glasser, who's going to be feeling like he's driving around on glass at the current moment. Brian Szynski, though, a mutter at the start of this race, able to punch out to that race lead.
Yeah, excellent jump from Brian Szynski there, able to hold it together, looking nice and smooth here so far. Just behind him, though, Matthew Hunter, Jacob Guyton are fighting for position side by side here. We have seen a lot of side by side on this first lap. Super clean, I must say. Only lost a few people there, I think, in these conditions. And yeah, you got to definitely give yourself a pat on the back as you see Greg Meyer there having a moment in the Taco Bell machine, able to gather it back up. But it is raining now, is it not, Ron? It is definitely wet out there. You're going to want to have those wet tires on. I would imagine if you have slicks, you'll be in pretty soon here to check them out. We'll get back to some of those replays shortly there for our viewers to see what happened on this first lap. We want to stick with this fight here. Jacob Guyton, Matthew Hunter into T1. He's going to look on the outside here, see if he can make it work for him. He will feel a little bit crunched down in the rain here on that inside, but he's going to hold on to it. Jacob Guyton going to think a little better of it for now. Move back in the field a little bit here, and there is racing all over this field still after lap 1, Ron.
Yeah, it's dicey all around the pack as the rain is falling down. You pointed it out there, Josh. We're in the middle of a thick rain band at the current moment, according to the iRacing weather radar, and that is not going to help out these drivers one bit. Certainly not helping out Stevie Ray and Ken Glasser, who started this race on slicks. Stevie already breaking away to come down pit lane. Glasser going to try and do the same as Jason Chess exits out after serving that penalty. Henry Ryback and Tyler Hagan nearly had an incident hang down the backstretch. I believe it was Ryback that got mega wiggly on the outside curb and nearly body slammed the side of Tyler Hagan there as they headed their way down the stretch. Those two cars hoping not to end in tears. Everybody hoping not to end in tears right now as we take a look at here from Ryback. No, it's looking good, looking fine.
Oh, this might be
entry. As it was Hagan there up in front. Pardon me. It was not Ryback that was sideways. It was Hagan that was sideways as he headed his way out of there.
Yeah, we'll have a look back here to see what exactly did happen to the likes of Ryback here. He does have a crash incident here right at the beginning after green flag, and then Pranay Kentaneni, Tyler Hagan also getting caught up in something there on. So you may have actually peeped that after all, and we'll get to it here eventually. Jose Navas Molina, though, under pressure from Ryan Sheena, Damian Dietrich's last week's winner, up onto the straightaway here. Not an easy place. You really don't have a whole lot of defense here. In the rain, it's going to be a little bit harder of a prospect to make this pass happen, but you can see the number 9 there getting that draft and able to kind of easily at least get alongside here into T1. Not going to be able to fully get that run, though, and that's the second time we've seen that tonight. So, you know, it's a little bit interesting. I think maybe that outside line, Ron, probably covered in a lot more water, and it makes it a little bit difficult to pull out and make that pass there, as he is going to try a bit of an undercut on him here, back and forth. Let's have a quick look as soon as we're done this straight here, and we'll go back and see what happened to Ryback, and then maybe Pranay Kentaneni and Tyler Hagan. But lots of fighting going on here still mid-pack.
Yeah, these drivers still squabbling up. I saw Ryan Shea run off onto the outside curb, heading out of the Curva del Sol onto the Heta Oposta. I thought that was going to end in disaster, but he's actually been able to make it work. Chia gets past Jose Navas, or maybe not. They're side by side, heading their way off through turns number 6 and 7 here in the midfield, and contact being made. Navas slid off into the side of Ryan Chia. They both come to a stop there. Get back up and rolling, but after losing out on a boatload of time and some positions to boot, they now find themselves in the midst of a hornet's nest. Walker Foltz now sticking his nose into that fight. As we take a look to see what happened, Shea there on the outside, really had nothing that he could have done there. Navas crowded down there on the bottom on the old racing line. Now, running the racing line in the rain, you always mention it, how tricky it is to try and go through a racetrack on the racing line when the track is soaked. Because everybody runs there, there's a lot of rubber down. It is polished down there on that part of the racetrack. So whenever you're skidding through there, it is disastrous. As we take a look at disaster breaking out at the start, that was Henry Ryback. Didn't even take note of that on the initial start.
Yeah, I didn't really even see that happen either at the beginning. We're going to try to have a look again. It looks like Stevie Ray going to have a bit of a stall out moment, and then just behind him, unfortunately, building in our way there. Let's see if we can't get a better camera for that one. But we ended up with, it looked like they tried to go 3 wide just momentarily here. Clipped tires. Yeah, that's Ryback trying to make it 3 wide at the beginning there, and unfortunately that one's just going to bite him. Yeah, unfortunate there for the drivers getting caught up in that one at the beginning. So that's what happened to Ryback, and we did actually kind of miss that in the beginning there. So apologize for that. We'll come back here and see what happened to Pranay Kentaneni here as well. Looks like maybe he's going to have some help here too. Yep, and a little bit of side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel contact. Really easy to do, again, Ron, because it is wet. You're going to get pushed a little wider maybe than you would usually think. We'll take a look at that one maybe from Tyler Hagan's view here as well.
Yeah, so Hagen unfortunately getting caught up in the drama that was heading down into at the end of Heto Posta through into Descida del Lago. I'm trying the Brazilian and
Sounds great.
Portuguese pronunciations here. Any Brazilians tuning into this broadcast, you have free rights to make fun of me. I am a dumb American after all, so my pronunciations aren't too far off. I'm also from Philly as well. You know, we call water, so. There is no T in Philly English. Is bad sideways snap there from Ryan Chia. He currently finds himself in the midst of a real tense battle. It's Bob Eggert right up in front, Damian Dietrich behind, and then a small little break in the action to find this 4-car train of Jose Navas, Andres Ruiz, Walker Fultz, and Jason Chess. One thing that I do want to note here, Josh, and it's been a stark change in the past 7.5 minutes. Look at how darker and how wetter this racetrack has gone just over the span of the past 7.5 minutes here in this race. We looked at that replay of the start, and it felt like a completely different racetrack that we were running at the time. Amazing track evolution as we've gone throughout this race. Amazing from our perspective here in the booth. Not too good for these drivers who are really struggling trying to find where that grip is.
Yeah, and you can see just off the nose of Jason Chess here up front, side by side with Dietrich and Molina. He's going to try up the middle again, and that one's not going to work out. I'm not really exactly sure. It's hard to call from where I am right here now, but that never looked like it was going to work, and massive accident behind now as well. So, oof, a little unfortunate on that one. I was just going to say, though, up front, we did have Navas Molina and Damian Dietrich going side by side through T1 there, and you can just see how easy it is to sort of mess up that complex in T1 and T2. Jason Chess getting it right and then getting a really good run. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure. We'll have another look at that one, but I'm not really sure that was ever going to work out going into there. We'll have a look in a minute or two, though.
Yeah, no, the problem is, I don't have a good feeling about this. That's Sarah Vase and Walker Fultz, two drivers that I think are still trying to get their bearings straight after that incident. Nearly just ruffled their own feathers once more, as it's very sketchy heading off through that second sector. That was into turn number 8 through 9 right now. There are many Brazilian names many Portuguese names I will try and pronounce, but turn 9 is not one of them. That sounds like I will just be asking for trouble if I do. However, this fight is really intense. These drivers dancing with the devil at the moment out here on the racetrack. It is brilliant from our perspective in the booth, but definitely a little bit sketchy out there on the road as well. Side by side is, I think, Andres Ruiz trying to get a slowdown served as he headed his way through the inside of the final turn. That was off through Jung Sao as Tyler Hagen nearly just wrecked himself here on the start-finish straightaway. That was heading off through 14 and 15, building up the speed on that not-so-straight straightaway. We're going to take a look to show you some of the drama that's been going on here. This side, Nathan spearing off the track into turn number 1. The runoff area through there is a lot more forgiving in real life than it is in this old scan in the sim. So see the drama 3 wide down the backstretch. Never going to work. Andres Ruiz, Walker Fultz. And I believe the other driver involved in that was Jason Chess, as Sarah Vase and Tyler Hagen both getting called out there.
Wow, yeah, a lot of attrition from that accident right there. And yeah, I don't think that was ever going to work out there. That was an ever-closing gap that the nose never should have been up into. Hard to gauge sometimes, you know, when you're out there, but we'll let the stewards take care of that one. Brian Jasinski up front, though, in the number 84. Absolutely putting on a rain clinic here. About 7/10 away from Matthew Hunter now. Jacob Guyton will just be following him not too far behind. Then you're going to have a pretty big gap to Greg Myers. You can see, you know, just how this works out sometimes. You know, if you can, as long as you can keep the car together, keep it straight, keep it pointed forward in these rain races, you're probably going to do pretty good. And even Brian here, he's got to make sure now he holds her together. That's all you got to do now is just hold her together. Make sure that you're out there cooking your laps off, that you know how to do. He's got the speed. Matthew Hunter's gonna, you know, he's gonna definitely test him here by the looks of it in a lap or two. But you just got to hold yourself together there. And most likely, if you can do that, there's going to be some attrition behind you, and you'll do just fine on these races. But I guess we got our answer about the rain. It is definitely raining, Ron, and it looks like it's getting wetter. If I had to guess, I would say it is probably getting a little bit wetter out there at the moment. And you can see now really staying off those curbs, and the field has broken up quite a bit. Jason Chess now beside Molina, and it looks like he's actually going to go off the road there. Not sure. Looked like maybe a pass attempt on the outside gone wrong. We'll go have a look at that one right now.
And going so far off into the runoff
Ooh,
area
very
through
wet.
turn number 1, I thought he was going to end up in Rio for a second. As there you can see, it goes for a hop, skip, and a jump through the grass on the inside of the second part of the Senna S. Is able to rejoin without any further incident, but just shows you how tricky it is trying to get the moves done. The thing is here with Interlagos is that the elevation change mixed with the rain does not help. We talk about, you know, the elevation change in terms of going uphill, downhill, but in terms of thinking about the camber through some of the turns around here, especially through turn number 1, the track falls away from you there on the inside. It is a very intriguing and fascinating turn. It's part of the reason why the track is a, you know, fan and driver favorite, for crying out loud. However, in these F4 cars, especially when you're trying to get a move done on the limit of control through that braking zone, it is so easy to lock up, so easy to lose control, or just overcook it big time heading through there and do exactly what we saw there from Jason Chess try and visit the old Olympic Park there in Rio, heading off through turn number 1.
Yeah, so easy to do on the outside there. You could see on his onboard that right front locking up. And once you do that, it's all about just trying to gather that front tire back up and find some grip and turn in, which took a lot of extra track to do there. So T1 maybe not really the place to get it done around here in the rain, to be honest. It's you just kind of have to stay on one line by the looks of it, and that's something I'm going to bank actually for the next time I'm ever here in the rain. That outside line probably not going to work, and that inside line maybe, but it's just they're both really wet, and you kind of got to get the pass done maybe before you get there, or perhaps try to intimidate somebody into a pass as we're going back now here to Damien Dietrich, Jose Navas Molina, and Ryan Chia still fighting with Henry Ryback in tow, now side by side actually with Ryan Chia. So man, these 4 drivers here have been in it pretty much the entire race here, fighting somebody or each other for the whole race. Going to get out in to the paint there a little bit, and that's going to slow them down. You definitely have to let off and breathe off the throttle a little bit as you're going off the road in that particular section there. So looks like Ryback now going to get by Ryan Chia, making his way forward after that incident at the beginning of the race. Pretty unfortunate one there.
Yeah, so charging through is Navas. Very intriguing line heading down into turn number 8. Getting back to the point that I was raising a little bit earlier on about how tricky it is to run one of these rain races. You can't run the racing line. The asphalt there is not only rubbered in, so it feels like you're driving on paint. The asphalt there is just a little bit polished as you head your way through. Even when there's no rubber built up there on the road, you will see it is noticeably smoother. You got to drive on the parts of the racetrack that are porous, where those grooved rain tires are finally going to grip, and you're not just going to aquaplane off the racetrack like you're a fat kid on a water slide. Believe me, I speak from experience in that regard. Ryan Chia running in 9th here in the number 9 machine. We ride on board with him as he's side by side with Bob Eggert, heading his way across the stripe very soon, up the hill into turn number 1. Good spot to get a move done on paper, but in practice it has been a silent killer so far here in this race. Close making contact as they head their way through the Senna S, and Chia gonna jump his way up into 8th. We'll keep an eye on this battle as we go throughout the rest of this race, because things are certainly dicey there. 2 things of note. I'll give some love to Ken Glasser, who's still somehow negotiating this race with dry tires, but up at the front, big storyline here. Brian Szynski has fallen from the race lead down to 3rd, and things did not go well for him. Here it is, hang off into turn 4.
Yeah, looks like into turn 4 here. He's going to get a little bit wide, a little bit out into the grass and on the paint there, and that's going to slow him down a whole bunch. Going to get Matthew Hunter and Jacob Guyton up the inside there. So lost a couple positions, like I was saying. One of those tiny little mistakes. That's all it takes in the rain. But honestly, able to keep it together there and still in tow. So didn't end up sideways, didn't end up facing the other way. And you can see him in the replay there still just towing up the rear. So he's not out of this one yet. It does look like Matthew Hunter has found something in this full wet condition, though, as well as Jacob Guyton now also hunting him from behind. So still all to have here at the front. Not totally out of the water yet here for them, though. Brian Szynski's still behind, and he's had pace this entire time.
It was as we now have a chase down up at the front. It's Matthew Hunter and Jacob Guyton side by side down into the braking zone into turn number 1. Guyton on the inside line trying to make something work. The driver swap sides like they're flipping burgers, get so close to contact as they head their way through turn 2. Now side by side off through curve and us all out onto the back straightaway once more. Brian Szynski gonna have the popcorn seat of all this, front row seat to this battle as it gets very close contact made again as they head their way down the Reto Aposta. This is gonna nearly end in tears into turn number 4. Guyton trying to make it work there on the high side. Matthew Hunter is still with the grippy line down there on the bottom, trying to make it work. He's going to clear him, heading down through the mid-sector right now. But Guyton isn't going down without a fight. He is looking for every single opportunity. He wants a race win. All 3 of these drivers want a shot at glory here in Brazil. As you can see, contact there, and Szynski going to get by the both of them.
And it happens. It finally boils over on, and they touched each other going into the low-speed corners. They're so easy to do when you're trying to play with those margins and trying to get a pass done. We saw the over-under. We saw the under-over. We saw a little bit of everything there, and then unfortunately, they're going to make contact. And what a bummer there. What great race between Matthew Hunter and Jacob Guyton right up until that point. We'll have another quick look at it here. And this is a section, again, you're really trying to get the car woed up. You're really trying to slow it down. You can actually see Guyton have a little bit of a moment there just before that happened, and I think that's going to be what set it up. Obviously not doing that on purpose. They're racing really clean with each other, but I think just for a moment there, Guyton lost control of the car and then tried to gather it back up, was a little bit too late, and just bonked into Matthew Hunter, and that is going to give it to Brian Szynski out front here. So all he's got to do is hold it together here for a couple more laps. Now almost a 3-second lead on Jacob Guyton, and this race win will be his. He's been out there piloting around in the rain pretty darn good tonight. Only one small mistake there, so hold it together, and he might have a podium. Lost a little bit here for Jacob Guyton and Matthew Hunter, but they are still on the podium, so not too much there. Greg Meyer definitely seeing some blood in the water back here in 4th place. Might be able to do something about this. Matthew Hunter has some pretty good pace, though, and as we know, no damage on these cars, so they will be 100% repaired on the spot there, so we will be able to get back up to race pace fairly quickly here as well. But in the wee hours of the race there, Ron, switching positions for the lead again. Sarab Vase now looks like he is out.
Yes, Sarab Vase with a disqualification. He actually picked that up a couple of laps ago, and unfortunate there. Very easy to pick up those incident points here in the rain at Interlagos. Even if we were running into dry, it would be a bit of a uphill climb. 20x for the limit for these drivers as they try and find the limit here. Taking a look at Henry Ryback trying to find the limit heading into turn number 4. Just got a move put on Jose Navas as Navas found the limit of that car heading off into the braking zone. The point that I was going to raise before your top 2 wipe themselves out is that the entirety of the top 3, which still remain the same, Jacob Guyton and Matthew Hunter, still running 2nd and 3rd right now. They are all looking for their first win so far here this season. The only 2 drivers to score a victory have been Damian Dietrich, who's been able to mount a good recovery drive, currently finds himself in 5th right now, and Jose Navas, who's involved in that same battle, currently slotted in 7th. This is a good battle of note, though. Bob Eggert, Jason Chest, and Ryan Shea, they're coming around to take the white flag this time by. It's been in the air for Szynski. He starts his final lap with a 3.8-second margin. Ryan Shea going to look to start off this lap with a metaphorical bang, not a literal bang. Need to specify that because it could very easily end in tears if he goes for the spot hang down into turn number 1. We follow him right on board. He's trying to look for it. You can see Jason Chess looking for it on Bob Eggert side by side as they get to the apex of the first turn. Eggert, though, squirreled up approach that's going to allow Jason Chess to try and pounce around the outside through turn number 3 out there with the Trailer Park Girls trying to make it work. Will Chess be able to clear as they head their way down the straightaway? I think a low bit of netcode contact there. That or Eggert's starting to skid a little bit there in that machine. Close quarter stuff as they head their way into turn number 4. Nearly making contact. Chess running off the track. Nearly ran into the back of Eggert. Nearly got ran to the back of by Ryan Shea right behind. Thankfully ends smoothly as they start the 2nd sector, although they are still packed in like sardines, not giving us a single point to rest here in this race. It has been a brilliant round number 5 of this season, and it certainly has been for Brian Szynski. We saw him have that off-track moment heading off through turn number 4, running into the AstroTurf and running on the paint. Somehow avoided it, and even with the driver spinning right up in front of him, he's going to avoid it once more. That right there was your 18th place runner right towards the end of this race of Ken Glasser. Still, props are due. The Star Award to Ken Glasser going through this race on slick tires. That's like trying to pick up antimatter with chopsticks. But Brian Szynski, going to get his first win here in the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship. He gets it in a rain-soaked Interlagos.
Yeah, great rip there from Brian Szynski on this race in the rain here at Interlagos, able to keep it together just a little more than everybody else out there for sure, and that's what's going to do it. He had some pace, and he's also able to keep the car on the track and out of trouble for most of the race there. Only saw an incident or two, as now we're getting Bob Eckert across the line, Jason Chess, Ryan Chia fighting really hard throughout this entire race for position, so good on them for finishing up here. Walker Froats will be just behind them. Tyler Hagan as well. Good fought battles there out there today in the rain. Going to hold it together almost until the end of the race there. Going to throw her off into the grass, perhaps for some fun there. Andres Rios just behind him will bring home 13th, and Cy Nason. Stevie Ray starting the night out really strong there, and slipping backwards a little bit in this one. Not an easy one. Lots of attrition out there today for sure. But I'd have to say, Ron, all together for a rain race for the F4 crew, pretty well done. We didn't see too much attrition. We didn't see too many silly moves. Saw a lot of great racing, really, and some good passing.
Yeah, it was a very smooth race, all things considered. Definitely a decent amount of drama breaking out throughout that. But you look at this track, rain-soaked iRacing marking it as moderately wet as we got towards the end. The rain did stop by the time we grabbed that checkered flag, but didn't stop anywhere near early enough to finally get this racetrack fully dry by the time we got to the end here. But what a race for round number 5 of this season. And folks, we still have so much more racing action to look ahead to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. More from this series. Gonna round off the first half of the season in style at Watkins Glen in 1 week's time. Then we head off to VIR, Portland, Summit Point, Road America, Lime Rock, and Laguna Seca to bring this 12-round championship to a conclusion. And of course, you'll be able to catch the action all season long here from not just the F4s, but the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship as well here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, as you see your podium finishers pose for the pictures. And they're going to burn it down here momentarily. I'm not sure how well you can do donuts in the rain. You'll have a trail of mist behind you. Not much of a trail of tire smoke, but I am curious to see whether he can cut this well or not. Great drive, though, from Brian Szynski. You know, we've talked a lot throughout this season about how tricky it may be for Brian getting used to cars with downforce. Oh, is going to smack the wall in his burnout there. I had a bad feeling about it as soon as I saw that car get sideways. But I think Brian, no pun intended, considering he just won a rain race, he has adapted to this challenge like a duck to water.
Yeah, absolutely. Pun intended on that one, I think. And yeah, pretty good stuff for sure. He's a bit of a rainmeister out there. We'll remember that for the next round there. I'm sure with a lot of other drivers learning some skills today around Interlagos as well. Not an easy prospect in the rain, and pretty well held for most drivers out there today. A little bit of drama, like you said, perhaps some moves should have been thought better of here and there, but I think for the most part that was a really great race on a difficult track in difficult conditions, and Brian Szynski is going to come out with that win today, so he's got to be pretty stoked here as we're going to get some donuts from him here in the rain in the number 84 here with that new paint job on there, looking great. So pretty awesome stuff, man. Looking forward to more of these races, wondering if we're going to get any more rain this season.
Yeah, that is a very good question. I'll have to hit the books and try and figure out exactly whether or not we will get some more rain between now and the end of this season. But either way, we will take a look at your race results here in a couple of moments' time before we move off into the interviews. Actually, I'm curious here, Josh, before we look at those results, can we take a look maybe here at the championship points
Yeah,
heading off
actually,
into
let's
this
do
round
that.
of the championship? I was a little bit late to call it a bit earlier on. I always get a little bit nervous whenever we get towards the end of the session because our wonderful production software does occasionally tend to coat the graphics in like dried out Coca-Cola. Doesn't really work out too well that way.
Sticky.
Very sticky. Yeah, it's tacky, I think would maybe be the other way to describe it, which also describes my fashion taste now that I think about it. But Timmy Dietrich entered this race as your championship points leader. I think that 17-point margin maybe goes down just a little bit here tonight with Guyton grabbing a step on the podium, but still going to be Dietrich leading as we get towards the end of the first half of the season. Jacob Guyton there in P2, as I said, Henry Ryback in third, Christopher Yee in fourth, Greg Meyer, Jose Navas, Jason Chess, Brian Szynski gonna shoot his way up the running order, 25 points heading into this race. That is going to be a big gain for the driver of the 84 machine, with Jared Gregory and Matthew Hunter completing our top 10. You know, an interesting thought that popped into my head here, Josh, is thinking about Brian Szynski's paint scheme. We pointed this out during last week's show. He actually had his car painted to not look like his real-life Formula V, but actually look like his helmet, which explains all the other scales on the side of it, being done by our old pal here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, Tom Wendt, over at TW3 Paints. So nice to see that car finally get into victory lane. And news coming in from Captain Cotcher, Jason Cotcher, series admin here in SRG. Rain forecasted for the Lime Rock race a little bit later on this season when we tackled the layout with the chicanes. So we swap out the bump and the jump for some rain, so that'll be very interesting a little bit later on this season. But Josh, I've been going on for a little bit. I'll let you take the race results.
Yeah, let's do some results for today. And of course, Brian Szynski gonna take it home tonight in first place. And then after that, we have Jacob Guyton and Matthew Hunter in third. Hard fought podium there of from those three drivers. Greg Meyer in fourth place, just behind that, almost able to touch and taste a podium there, but not quite. Damien Dietrich's last week's winner will take home fifth. Henry Ryback with a bit of attrition out there, able to bring it back up to sixth place. Jose Navas Molina, a hard-fought seventh, as well as Bob Eggert in eighth. Jason Chess in ninth. In 10th, we have Ryan Chia. In 11th, we have Walker Fultz. Tyler Hagan will bring home 12th. In 13th, Andreas Ruiz. In 14th, we have Cy Nathan. Stevie Ray will bring home 15th. Pranay Kentaneni in 16th. 17th will be Rudy Samudio. I almost made one whole name out of both of those there. Ken Glasser will be in 18th place. And if I can get our overlay to move one more time. There we go. Then we got Sarah Vase and Ken Estep will bring home the field today in 20th.
And so those are your results for round number 5 of this season. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight. Let's have a chat with our podium finishers. I think that may be a good line of operations here as we get towards the end of the show. I know Dan, the YouTube chat, is going to be invested in this. And by the way, Dan saying that he was remaining silent there when he took the race lead, when Brian took the race lead, that is, because he didn't want to jinx him. That works out well, so I could have been the commentator's jinx there instead. But let's have a chat with Brian here. I want to ask him about how that race went. Brian, welcome into the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the race win. It was a very interesting set of circumstances that you drivers had to deal with here at Interlagos. How was it out there?
It was a lot of fun. I finally got a top 5, and I finally got a podium. It was awesome. I wasn't expecting the dry tire qualifying coming over somewhat wet, getting drier practice. I loved everything about it. Just everything you can do to hold on and see what happens.
Yeah, able to hold on very, very well. You know, when we saw that there was going to be rain in the race proper, I was wondering whether or not it was going to be the moisture on the track that was going to be the biggest problem, or the very low track temperatures running in the winter down there in Brazil. So how was it? Was it mainly just the moisture that was catching out from time to time, or was it the fact that maintaining track temperature was just such a pain in the hind end?
It was all the high-skilled guys not being able to break away from it was the biggest factor that I had. I told you guys last week Lime Rock's boring, so I went to Sao Paulo because it had rain, and I practiced it last week. And then they did the family show in the dry, which really threw me for a loop. But at least I had a tiny bit of practice in dry for qualifying, because otherwise I would have only known this track in the wet. So that helped me get to the front row. Scary T1 start there, because I initially 3 wide on the inside. I could not turn in, but luckily I also couldn't slow down, so I slid ahead and wide and managed to hold on to it till I made a mistake. And then my stupid brain told myself, that wasn't as good, because these guys are just waiting to battle for the lead, and they'll do something. They got 5 laps. So just hang in there, patience, and then magically it happened. So I know there's a bunch of guys waiting in there. So I just want to say car looked great. And more importantly, I got the matching helmet this week. So thank you, TW3, and look forward to whatever the next race is.
Yeah, next time out, that's going to be at Watkins Glen. I will say, though, you say that Lime Rock is boring and that rain racing is exciting. How's it going to be for the next rain race when we're at Lime Rock again?
Oh, that's the thing. So like if you're in a real car, you have to tell yourself you like rain racing, because you have no other option other than just go home. And then you can psych yourself up, and then at some point you're sitting on the false grid waiting to go out, and there's like a 10-minute delay, and you're just thinking, oh, I bet you a bunch of cars wrecked and we're all in the wall. What am I doing with my life right now? And then you go out there and you're trying to like scout puddles and everything, and then just the thought creeps in, what am I doing out here? And then the green flag drops and you can't see anything, and you're loving life at the end of it, and hopefully you get a good result. So it's a hate-love affair. Question life, live life till its fullest. Yeah, it's the greatest and the worst.
Yeah, see, I always loved rain racing back in the karting days. Then when we got a shifter kart and I realized the amount of stuff that would have to get cleaned, including probably the seat if things went a little bit awry out there on the racetrack, I realized that I didn't like rain racing as much as I used to back as a kid. But Brian, thank you for joining us here in the booth. Congratulations on the win. And we'll probably see you out there on the racetrack this upcoming Sunday for the Ray Sports Weekend Warrior Show.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much. That right there was Brian Zazinski joining us here in the booth. Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with one of our other podium finishers. I believe at the end of the day it was Jacob Guyton getting second place. So I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get Jacob in here for a good second place fight today. That was not one just handed to you there. Unfortunately, in the kind of wee hours there, a bit of contact between you and Matthew Hunter put you back a position or two, but still a great position out there today, and some good fighting as well. Maybe you can tell us, kind of how it happened, and if that was fun for you, or this is one kind of want in the rear view.
No, it was definitely fun for me, aside from, the contact. I was having some technical difficulties before I came in and set a pretty hot lap for my qualifier. So I was excited about that. And I just kind of got taken on the first lap and just focused on staying behind and waiting for someone to make a mistake in front of me until I, started to catch up to the guys in front, and started battling with Matthew. And I thought I was, given some good space there towards the end of the race, and I didn't anticipate him slowing down, and unfortunately knocked into him, and I definitely feel bad for that. But I mean, whether I hit him or not, it looked like I was going to get a podium. But yeah, just felt bad that I hit him. And Matthew, if you're going to watch this, I am sorry. You didn't deserve it.
They never feel good, do they, when you're trying to race clean, having such a good race with somebody, and then it just kind of spills over. In your defense there, Jacob, it did look like kind of just before the moment there, you had a tiny moment in the rear. The car got a little bit slick on you and then grabbed onto the brakes, and it was just a moment too late into it, and he kind of maybe held up the corner just a little more than usual too. So all those things happening at once just sort of ended up with you guys in contact, which is unfortunate, but we could tell on broadcast it was certainly not not on purpose here, but maybe you can tell us, over the course of that race, it did look like it got wetter out there. What kind of things do you have to adapt to when it gets wetter like that? What are you looking for?
I mean, you know, you're taught to drive, you know, the wet line versus the dry line, and we had a few practice sessions where we had like torrential rain and like somewhat rain. And the wet line here just doesn't feel like the fastest on wet tires. So one of the things you're looking out for is the puddles coming up to the braking sections. I don't know if you could see us kind of like dipping and dodging coming up before turn, I think it's 3, to kind of try to dodge those puddles before we start braking. But as it gets wetter and wetter, you don't really lose that much traction going into some corners, but it's definitely playing around with where you can get a little bit of an advantage, where you can gas a little bit earlier, and just taking it lap by lap, corner by corner, and edging out where you can push a little bit more and more, or where you have to cut it back.
Right.
We were playing a little bit around with brake bias too in our practice, and I definitely didn't feel comfortable even doing that in a race.
Yeah.
Just left it at whatever the hell it was at, and
Yeah.
just tried to get what I could good out of the conditions. And they were changing conditions, and it was fun. I'll say that much. It was very fun.
Excellent. Yeah, right on. And I think that's some good advice there. Basically, troubleshooting. You want to be looking for things out there, trying to find that advantage. You went by the corner last time, you saw a little dry patch. Maybe I can dip into that a little more and get a little earlier on the gas, and that's going to cost you, or you know, it's going to gain you a little bit of time. And it's interesting as well to hear. I kind of like it as well when it's either, you know, pretty dry or almost dry, or just fully wet. It's the in between starts to get pretty difficult around a track like this as you're looking for those lines and dodging puddles and so on. But we are going to be actually back in the rain again here at Lime Rock near the end of the season for the chicane layout. That's one that you know, very, very possibly could be in the rain. But we're out to Watkins Glen next. Is that a track that you like under your belt there, or is that one you're gonna have to be practicing up this week for?
Definitely gonna need to practice it, but very much a fan of Watkins Glen. I'm not aware of the configuration that we're running, if we're doing classic with the boot or anything, or not with the boot, but with the bus stop or not. One of my favorite tracks ever. Such a good track. Last time I think we ran it in the F4, it was even more torrential downpour than it was today, and it was, even in those conditions, such a good time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. Hopefully I can put up a time towards the top and have some good battles, and not put someone and spin them around, and have a cleaner race next week.
Yeah, excellent. I'm sure you will, Jacob. Always clean out there, or never trying to get into anybody, of course. And yeah, I think Watkins is going to be a good one. Everybody knows that track pretty well. It races real good, so we're looking forward to that for sure. But before we let you go here, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank my family and friends that may or may not be watching. Thank you, SRG and Alex and Jason and Tyler and Steven and all of our admins that keep the Discord and the community and the league running as efficiently as you could ever imagine. Thank you, Slow Motion Broadcast, for putting it on, letting our friends and family and whatnot watch. And yeah, just thanks everyone. It's a good time out here.
Awesome. Right on. Thanks for the kind words, man. And we will have a good week, and we'll catch you at Watkins Glen next time around.
See you next week.
Sounds good.
And that right there was Jacob Guyton, our second place finisher. Unrelated thought that popped in my head during the interview. Commentating a broadcast for about an hour with no water or beverage of any kind, it makes your mouth taste of coins. So
pennies, no.
I smell pennies. Let's have a chat here with Henry Ryback,
sure.
Our sixth place finisher at the end of the night. Henry, welcome into the booth. That looked like a pretty tough race to try and nail down here at Interlagos. How was it out there?
After the start, it was pretty alright, to be honest. I had quite good pace and good confidence, and yeah, going up to P6 after that horrible start, I think was really good.
Yeah, it's a good fight back for you. I want to ask you about how this race was, because saw the rain, we saw the very low track temperatures. I think we saw a code brown moment for Tyler Hagan right around you that nearly got you sent off into the inside wall heading down the back straightaway. Was that maybe one of the more nerve-wracking races you've had in this series?
Yes, for sure. Very much so. But I feel like I kept telling myself that that mistakes will happen, but if I don't make mistakes, the mistakes will be made by others, and the mistakes were made by others. So I just felt like if I keep it clean, it will pay off, and it did. So I didn't try to be the quickest of them all, because staying clean in these races is so much more important.
To finish first you have to finish, and that was definitely a phrase of note here tonight. But Henry, next time out in this championship, we're not going to have rain, but we are going to have the lengthened boot configuration of Watkins Glen to round off the first half of the season. What are your thoughts heading there?
I like Watkins Glen. It's not my favorite American track, but I still like it. I've been trying to do more races on the track so I can get more used to it. But I think it will be fun. I feel like that's a track that pretty much everyone has or has driven on. So I don't feel like there's going to be any big accidents or any nervosity going into the season for anyone.
And see, now a follow-up question for you, Henry. What is your favorite American track?
Anyone in California.
Touche. Touche. There we go. But Henry, thank you for joining us here in the booth. And as always, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
To Matthew Hunter for getting his first podium. I feel like that's really nice, especially since he's my classmate. I feel like it's good to have both me and him on the podium at least once now.
Yeah, there we go. It's been a strong start to this campaign for the both of y'all, and looking to see what the rest of these rounds have in store. Henry, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time at when the series rocks up to Watkins Glen.
Yes, thank you too. Thank you too.
Yep, and that right there was Henry Ryback, our P6 finisher. Josh, these drivers had to weather the storm literally and metaphorically tonight here in Brazil. Final thoughts before we wrap things up.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, lots of attrition out there today for sure. Not an easy prospect, but I think they did pretty darn good, all said and done. We had a few drivers as well making their way up the field after some attrition as well, and a great win from Brian Shazinski. So I think the F4 season is still on a roll here, man. We're doing really well. People looking really good out there. A lot more respectful driving and stuff than some previous seasons we have had. Everybody is improving, getting better, faster, and I'm sure we'll see some of these guys up in F3. But next week at Watkins Glen, really looking forward to that one. I think that, like Henry said there as well, people know this track. They know that track very well, and I think we're going to get some pretty good racing there, so really looking forward to that one. And now that the rain is in our rear view mirror for some of us there, I'm sure that'll make some of the drivers happy. So yeah, I'm here for it, man. Should be really good next week.
And of course, there was a lot of action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting between this broadcast here tonight and the next one for this series at Watkins Glen. Of course, tomorrow we've got our Wednesday double feature of Street Nights Racing. SKR Sim Racing continues on their championship. Now the second half of the season, rocking and rolling from the St. Petersburg Street Circuit. We're going to be heading off at the F3s later on that night to a track that did start off as a street circuit, but now no longer is. Spa-Francorchamps for the latest round of that championship. This upcoming Thursday here on the channel as well, we'll also be able to present to you the first round of the Extreme Motorsports GT3 Championship. Fixed setups, GT3 cars, actually 2 GT3 races in 2 separate days here on SMB. And of course, this upcoming Sunday, we'll be able to bring you the latest race from the Ray Esports Summer Shootout Series. That's going to be at VIR. The American Muscle Series is going to be rocking up to Naval Base Coronado in 1 week's time. That's going to be a pretty fun race to look forward to here on the channel for round number 3 of that season. And of course, SRG F4 will be at Watkins Glen. Never miss out on any of the racing action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to stay up to date on some of the action that we have here and keep yourself informed about some of the smaller stuff going on. How about you take a look at some of the YouTube shorts here on this channel? The same great racing action is always delivered in bite-sized form. If you want to know what Slow Motion Broadcasting could do for your iRacing special events or league, how about you join the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server linked here onto the YouTube channel. But after this broadcast here tonight for round number 5 of this season, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on tonight's show, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.